In the name of God, the matrix power, the absolutely merciful. Praise be to God, master of the worlds. Welcome to this segment and to the new program about the connotations of synonyms. Now, we will pause. As an introduction or as a first model, we will pause on the concept or the connotation of the differences in meaning between wisdom, knowledge, and perception. The viewer might think that consciousness should be included with these. I say no. The word consciousness, if we take this term and compare it with the Quranic text, we will find that there is no relation. It started with their containers, awiya, meaning container from which the word consciousness is derived. Beyond that, even the concept of consciousness, we know it has no relation to intelligence and knowledge, but to the spirit. That is, you can find the person who is very smart, intelligent, and holds a professor's title, but who is not conscious. Their level of consciousness is very low. You can find a person who did not have the opportunity to acquire knowledge, but who is conscious. Consciousness, friends, is related to piety, faith, and the spirit. It does not enter here in the concept of wisdom or science, the concept of knowledge and perception. Well, wisdom is reaching the essence of something and understanding its details and particularities. That is the concept of wisdom. Wisdom is reaching the essence of something, its details and particularities. That is, if you do not know the details and particularities of something, you do not really know it. That is why in the Qur'an, God, glorified be He, is described differently from knowledge. It is impossible to find in the Qur'an knowledge as a description of God, glorified be He. That is, saying that God knows or that God does not know is an empty statement. It is not correct to say that God knows. Attributing knowledge to God is a deficiency regarding God, glorified be He. Having knowledge for you, human being, may be something worthy and it elevates you. But attributing knowledge to God is a deficiency. God, glorified be He, cannot be described with knowledge. Do not say that God knows me or that God knows. No. God is the omniscient. The word wisdom is the one attributed to God, glorified be He, with His name, the omniscient. God is not called the knower, nor the one who knows, nor anything similar. You will not find it in the names of God, nor in His attributes throughout the Quranic text. Why? Because God, glorified be He, the omniscient, is the one who knows deeply for certain the details and particularities of every atom in this universe. On the other hand, knowledge is reaching the signs and main characteristics that distinguish one thing from another. What is knowledge? Knowledge is related to the characteristics of something without unraveling its depth. That is why it is not used as a description of God, glorified be He. And we can say of the Shaykh, knowledgeable of God, such and such. No problem. But you cannot say of someone that they are the deep knower of God, because who can comprehend the details and particularities of God, glorified be He? That is incorrect. You can know Him, but you cannot claim to know deeply what God is. There is no person who knows deeply of God at all. That is why, friends, knowledge is always related to traits. We compose the concept of something by its characteristics. Like the Quranic quote that says they are recognized by the traits of their face. Or when they tell you that such a person has a radiant face or that your energy is at its peak. It is talking about knowledge, not science, because it does not know your details of what is happening to you. And when our clear signs are recited to them, you recognize in the faces of the oppressors the disapproval. It was expressed with the term recognize. It also said, you recognize the poor who have been confined in the path of God, who cannot seek a living on the earth. It speaks of the poor whom the ignorant consider rich due to their modesty. You recognize them by their characteristics. They do not beg insistently from people. What amazing words. Friends, this verse clearly shows what the concept of knowledge is, which is related to characteristics and basic foundations. It says, the poor who cannot seek a living on the earth. The ignorant consider them rich due to their modesty. That is, the modest do not ask anything from anyone. They do not beg. The ignorant consider them rich due to their modesty. You recognize them by their signs. That is, there are main indications and signs that show you that this person is poor and in need. Their clothes have been worn for 5 days. They have only one piece of clothing. You do not find them at the butcher shop buying. If they want to buy meat, for example, they buy only a quarter. Well, they buy a quarter, something like that. When they go to the vegetable market, they buy with 5 pounds, things like that. Trades that you recognize, but you do not know the deep details about them. Well, whether they have or do not have, or how much they have, you do not know the details of how they earn their livelihood. But through the signs and characteristics and being modest, they do not beg insistently from people. You recognize that this person is among the poor. This verse speaks of this type of people. And now we come to the verse where knowledge and wisdom or deep knowledge are mentioned together. This, friends, is one of the beauties of the Qur'an. This is one of the most beautiful styles of the Qur'an. It stimulates the mind when it mentions synonyms in a single verse. As when it says, then the fuad, that is heart, of the mother of Moses was empty. She was about to reveal it if it were not for the fact that we strengthened her qalb. That is her mind. Why here? He said qalb, and here he said fuad. Another example is when the verse says, "O my father, wisdom has come to me that has not come to you." Why did he not say knowledge? Why did he not say knowledge has come to me that has not come to you? The Qur'an brings the synonyms in a single verse. Everything is to stimulate your mind so that your mind learns to be conceptually precise, so that you focus and delve deeper. Don't get distracted by diluting concepts without discernment. You must delve into the details to truly know. We said that science or wisdom specializes in understanding the depth of details and the particularities of a specific matter, while knowledge is related to the general characteristics or traits that allow something to be defined. Let's now go to this verse that addresses the announcer, peace be upon him, regarding the hypocrites. It says, if we wanted, we would show them to you and you would recognize them by their signs, and you will certainly recognize them by the way they speak. And God knows deeply what they do. He didn't say God knows what they do, because if he had, it would mean that God only perceives the general characteristics but doesn't know the internal details like intentions and what's inside us. But no, he also didn't tell the announcer, peace be upon him, that he would know what's inside the hypocrites. He cannot know it, but signs of them are given to you. These signs of knowledge allow you to distinguish that this person might be a hypocrite. How? Well, for example, in the form and content of their speech, in their movements, in what they say, as if they were propped up wood. They don't approach relationships based on azala, but with negligence, a characteristic of knowledge. And God knows deeply what they do. He uses knowing and deep knowing. So the result is that wisdom specializes in understanding the deep essence of a matter, while knowledge specializes in the characteristics and fundamentals that distinguish one thing from another, while perception is the state of reaching the limit of the known, deduction, conceptual stability, reaching the conceptual barrier. That is the concept of perception. It doesn't have much to do with the topic. Perception is the sensory or intellectual state when the limit of the known is reached. In Arabic, it relates to the barrier, the limit, or the end of something attainable, whether sensory or intellectual. For example, when it is narrated about the people of Moses, when Pharaoh pursued them, they said, we are reached, perceived. And it uses the word mudrakun, meaning the sea blocked them. So before the order came to Moses to cross, the sea had closed them in, and they were perceived by Pharaoh's army. Well, it also says the hypocrites will be in the lowest level of hell. And it uses the word dark, which shares a root with idrak or perception. It means they have reached the final point of suffering, and there is nothing lower than that. The concept of perception means reaching the final point in anything that has extension. Anything that has extension, reaching the final point is perception. In Arabic, idrak. It can be spiritual, intellectual perception, or it can be sensory perception. As the same root indicates in the example of the hypocrites being at the lowest limit of hell. And the companions of Moses said, we will be reached, meaning perceived by Pharaoh because they were bounded. See you in the next episode, God willing. Peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you.